presentation by After Hours in the book series. Oh my God. Kind of crooked, but you get the idea. Right? And this time, of course, as you see, we're going to deal with accents and rebounds. Last time, well, the first book in the book series presentation was on stick control, which was George L. Stone's first book. And this is a follow-up to stick control. I guess you can see it. You can see what I'm doing. I'm not going to do anything too fancy today. So basically, as a follow-up to stick control, it's very much like stick control. The format is pretty much similar. And he uses a lot of the same stickings in the stick control, but he's adding accents to that, which is another level. And I covered free strokes in the stick control presentation, which I was also showing you George's methodology that I got from Joe Morello, that he got from him. And I showed you free strokes, and we did it at full level, and I think I did it at half level. I showed you a different level. I explained the two types of strokes, you know, the free stroke and the control stroke, and then the levels, which identify the height of the stroke, which gives you accelerated opportunities for volume or speed. And but I didn't talk about the control strokes at all. You know, and the control strokes really is the connective tissue between the different levels. I mean, you know, you can play loud at high, and you can play medium at medium level, and you can play soft at a quarter stroke level. But you know, in order to play cleanly, you need to be able to get in and out of these levels in a relaxed way, and be accurate about the levels you're hitting. When you seek a new level, you always have to get to the same level that you set at the beginning, so the accent sounds sound like accents, and they all sound the same, and the tap sounds all sound like taps, and they all sound the same. So he broke it down to almost like an assembly line. Kind of thing. It's really simple. I mean, I could teach anybody to do this, and I can put them on an assembly line, and they can read accents, all in the same way, using the same process that he uses, and he can play any accent pattern. You know, the whole idea was to be able to play any accent pattern that came up, and then slow it down and break it down to its parts, and see exactly what the moves are, and when the opportunity is to prepare for the next stroke. And the basic concept was preparedness. I guess he was a Boy Scout. But the idea is to always prepare for the next stroke from the previous strokes. When you play a stroke, the volume of the stroke is connected to the level, the height. Okay. And so when you throw a stroke, you have to be considering the next stroke, because you have to consider where you want to be the next time you want to throw a stroke, because everything is being thrown from the high position. You're not picking anything up to a height that you like. You have to be there already. Okay. In other words, let me show you what I'm talking about. Most people play accents like this. Well, I did a whip there, not even, you know. We're just talking about wrists now. I'm not even going to talk about arms today, maybe. That's going to be a separate. But you know, this is what people do when they want to accent. But George said, no, you're up here. And then that's your accent. But now, miles you're down here, you can't accent again. So you're forced to play taps. So if I want to play accents after the first accent, I have to do a free stroke, not a control. Now I can play two more. I can play two more. If I want to play some taps, I have to set myself up for the taps previous to the accent. So when the accent happens, I got to stop where I need to be for the next stroke. And that's your control stroke. Now I'm just playing free strokes at half again. I only use control strokes when I want to change a level. And there's two of them. I showed you the down. Now I'll show you the up. Now what if I want to play an accent? I got to get back up there. Notice up to my next stroke is going to be my left hand. I don't care. I'm done with my right hand. I'm up. Same thing with the left hand. When I go up, it's because I have no taps left to do next. The next stroke I have to play as an accent. When I go down, it's because I have no accents left to do. The next stroke I have to play as a tap. Okay. So that's the concept. So there are instructions when to be free, when not to be free, when to go down, and when to go up. And it all has to be prepared in the previous stroke. So there's two strokes to every thought. The stroke you're going to play, you got to be in the right place to play it. And the stroke you're going to play afterwards, you got to be in the right place to play that. So where do you want to be at the end of this stroke? But that's why there's two parts to the stroke. There's the level, and then there's the type. The type tells you where the what the level's going to do. If it's going to be a free stroke, you don't have to worry about it. You're going to come right back to where you were, and you're doing the same thing, no change. Okay. The other type is control. That means something else is going to happen. You can stop it on the way down, or you can extend the stroke on the way up. You can downstroke, upstroke. Downstrokes for when to prepare for taps. Upstrokes to prepare for accents. An upstroke is not an accent, and a downstroke is not a tap. Let's look at the book. We ready to look at the book? So that's it. You can all go home now. Let me get another page up here. And this is the opening book. I don't have the second page. When they made the PDFs, they didn't make a copy of the second page, probably because there was a full page picture of Joe Morello playing the drums, because the book is dedicated to Joe Morello. The book was inspired by Joe Morello, from what I understand. If I understand anything. The story goes that he was fooling around with the stick control, and he was starting to do some accents with it, and George saw him, and then he was the inspiration to do it in an organized form, like stick control, which he did. So, in the first page, that I have, which is the first page of text, which is really page 4. Wow. Yeah, there's an introduction, and he talked, but I went through this with the stick control book. So I hope I gave you a flavor of what George meant to do when he wrote this stuff. All right, so let's look at the page. What did he do here? There's 12 lines. Okay, well there's 24 in stick control. So these are twice as long. They're 4-bar lines instead of 2-bar lines. And when you look at the stickings, they're almost exactly the same stickings as the first column. So obviously we only have room for one column here of stick control. So this is right-hand singles, left-hand singles, right-hand doubles, left-hand doubles. I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in a row. that are exactly even the same numbers. 5 being the paradiddle, you know. And the only difference is when 6 in stick control, you would go to the second inversion, to the first inversion. You know, goes to this one, and he doesn't do that. So he goes to a left-handed version of the paradiddle, which didn't make sense in stick control because it's hand to hand. Anything hand to hand, you have to do a right hand lead, left hand lead, alternating anyway. So why did he do that here? Well, because you got accents now, right? And the accents fall differently depending on the lead hand. You know, the different instructions happen for each hand, and you'll understand that a little better when I show you what I mean by that, by instructions for your hand. The instructions are full and free, full and down, half and free, half and down, half and up, quarter and free, quarter and up. These are the instructions. All right, they change because of the sticking pattern. Even though even on a paradiddle hand to hand, it changes when you put an accent pattern in there. Okay, and then he doesn't go to the first inversion. He doesn't go to the second inversion. He goes to the third inversion, which is in my opinion, is the most difficult inversion to do. Right? And then, just like the paradiddle, the regular paradiddle, he does a left-hand version because the accents change the preparation, stroking, thinking. His strategy changes. And then we get to 9, and he sort of skips over to 3 on one hand. This stuff, I guess he had to negotiate with his publisher to stay with an even amount or 12 lines to probably 12 stab system that they were using. Whatever it was, but he went right to number 13 in stick control, the 4s. And of course, he has to do a left-hand version of that. And then he does something that he doesn't do in stick control. He plays everything on one hand. And everything on the other hand. Okay? That's very similar to what Joe gave me. That I'm sure George gave him to do the vamps in between the stick control exercises, and then he's putting the vamp at the end of the page. Basically, he's writing the vamp in now. Okay. All right. So that's that. Not difficult at all. Until you start looking at the accents. Now he takes an accent pattern, and he only takes one. It's enough. There's enough things to figure out from just one pattern. You start changing this pattern, it gets to the point where it becomes uncontrollably disorganized. And the pattern is a basic military pattern. Downs, 2 downs and an up, 2 downs and an up, and he does it in a 4-bar pattern, and he repeats it, and he gives you a final ending. So he wants you to do this over and over again, and the last time he gives you an ending with a few moments of rest at the end, and so you can go to the left hand without much difficulty. He gives you a nice break in the action on the finale. Okay, and he tells you to do it 20 times. I don't do it 20 times every time I do it. And I do it a lot. I do it often. I have done it 20 times when I first got the book, and I did, and it helped me to learn it, and it helped me to train my neurology, so to speak. But if you do the whole page 20 times each, it's going to take you a long time. It's going to be hard to cover a lot of material. So there's not a lot of material in the beginning, but we start adding material as we go. So this material gets condensed after a while. So don't let the 20 times scare you. That's not, he doesn't, I don't think he means that. Every time you do the book, you have to do the page 20 times and repeat 20 times. I don't think he means that. I think that's meant for the person who reads the book for the first time. All right, so the accent pattern sounds like this. This is a repeat. I'm doing that at a tempo where there's not much time to prepare. I mean, I pretty much got to be there where I want to be for the next stroke when I want to play it. There's no, it's that stop and catch and then continuous flow. At a stop and catch tempo, it's real easy to do these things because there's plenty of time to stop and think about what you got to do next and get to the next place, and you have a moment before it comes up. But at a medium tempo like this, it gets to the point where the spaces disappear between the strokes, and you sort of have to be there. Basically, when you want to do the upstroke, you already should be there until you get to the point where you can't, and then that's your upper limit for your linear wrist speed that you have. So the way I like to break it, the easiest way to see it is to separate the hands and see what one hand is doing. Okay, so I'm going to show you the right hand. And you're going to see how easy this is, how simple it is. So what am I doing? Well, let's break it down to the moves. I have to start up here. I got 2 accents in a row, so I got to do a free stroke. And then I got a second accent, but then I got to play a tap after that. So I'm going to do a downstroke. Should be no difference in the sound. And I got to play some taps. 1. And then I got to go up again. Right? That's 1 quad. Right? So I'm going free, down, tap, up, free, down, tap, up, tap, tap, tap. No, I'm not doing the tap up, sorry. Free, down, tap, up, tay, down, tap, up, tap, 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 up, free, down, tap, up, free, down, tap, 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 up. I'm trying to do it very quickly and try to separate the strokes for you, even at a quick tempo. It's much easier to do it slower, and you get it. And this is exactly what you have to do when you're moving quickly, except you don't have all that time in between each stroke. But you want to get there, so you have to get into the habit of getting there. I don't care how much time I have. I don't have anything else to do but get there. So when I speed up, I'm there. Okay. So the left hand. Tap, tap, up, tap, up, down, arms up and down. Very hard to tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, up, down, up, down, tap, 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 up, down. Okay. All right. So right hand is okay. And that's what it looks like separate. So there's not really anything difficult going on. It's just, it takes some time to slow it down and understand what the moves are going to be, you know. And then when you understand what the moves are going to be, when you speed this up, you get a lot of speed, accuracy, cleanliness, control. But it comes from doing it like very slowly this way, okay? So together it looks like this. I did the ending. Notice the choreography changed just because the ending changed. And the left hand is the same thing. As I prep this for the final, alright? I'm trying really hard not to use my whips and forearms. I'm really trying hard. So let me explain what that is about, I guess. So you see that, and then so then the challenge is, before I get into the discussion of the rest of your body, the second one, it gets a little more complicated. I'm not going to go through every one of these. And they get easier as you go down anyway. And this is gonna, you start the second one, the third one this way. Oh, sorry. So the trick is, you know, it gets very tricky. So you have to do this very slowly in order to really understand when you're going up, when you're going down, when you're going free, when you're controlling. It's a very complicated system. It takes a lot of time and effort to do this. To learn it, you know, first to understand what he's trying to do, and then to apply it to so many accent situations. Because every one of these lines has several different challenges to your understanding of the moves. You know, and I don't do this anymore. I mean, I learned, this is the way I learned. This is George's method. This is how I learned to accent with my wrist, because that's what you do. You learn to use your wrist first. We don't use our arms until we can get to the point where we can accent with our wrists like this. Because I think he wants us to learn how to use our wrists. And the arms are just an additional, the arms and fingers are just an additional sweetening of the pot to the basic foundation of the wrist. So if you can't do it with your wrists and you're using your arms to do it, there's a hole in it. You're missing. There's a dynamic in the center that you're not getting to. You're getting the extreme dynamics, but you're not getting where you're getting digital cuts in the dynamics, and rather than an analog integrated system where you can place it anywhere you want and keep it there and change it and keep it there and change it and keep it, so you have control over the dynamics, not just a loud and a soft button, you know. So I don't really do it this way. I mean, you know, because I've been doing the book. I don't want to talk about it. I've been doing the book a long time. So when I first did the book, I didn't know how to do the book. I just did the book. And I would do it at tempos like at 40, 42, 44, because it was the only way for me to even learn the accent pattern. I didn't even understand how the sticking was really working, organized, or how the positions, you know, I knew nothing about hand positions or stroking or levels, or and I went through the book a lot at very, very slow tempos, and I learned it. So the material was in. I have to learn the material, but it didn't do me what it was supposed to. I mean, you could get hurt doing this stuff. That's all I'm gonna say. You can get hurt playing the drums. You can get hurt playing this stuff. All right. So then I had to learn how to do it for real. When I went to Joe Morello, and first of all, you know, I didn't even get to accents for a couple of lessons, because you have to learn how to throw the stick, and you have to learn how to do a full stroke, and you have to learn how to do a half stroke, and you have to learn how to bounce, and and then after all that, we get to the point where I am today with you, and he showed me control strokes, and he started giving me rudiments and stuff, and I was able to go back to this book that I already knew and do it the way the author meant it. It was much, much more challenging than anything I've ever done before, technically. You know, and so I went through that stage. I understand pretty good, but that's not really the way we play. Of course, we have more tools in our toolkit than just our wrists. We have our fingers, we have our arms, and we have a couple of different ways of using our wrists, and a couple of different ways of using our fingers, and a couple of different ways of using our arms, even, believe it or not. So you get to the point in the technique where you start adding arms. Now, I don't know how much of this, at this point, I don't know how much of this is Joe, because after all, Joe inspired this material with what he was doing. How much of this was George, because his system didn't include any arm work. But Joe teaches a method where arms and fingers are incorporated into what seems to be the George L. Stone method. So I guess you can call this more Joe Morello method. Or maybe it's just a little more modern than, you know, more people are into using arms today than they were back in George's day. So then Joe taught me how to use arms, and I was able to, and he showed me the whip stroke. How are we doing on time? Yeah, she showed me this whip stroke thing. A lot of people call this Moeller. And I think Moeller did it a little differently. I mean, he was 10 years earlier than Stone, and we all find a little bit of ourselves in what we do. For some reason, we can't avoid it. He showed me this. And the problem with this, and this is good for like the triplet accent or paradiddle. Okay, but it's limited in its scope. It's not like, it's not like what George set up with his wrist, with the wrist, and this particular getting in position with your wrist strokes and all that. There isn't an accent combination that can be written that you cannot use this on and accurately depict the accent and play it and execute it using his system. With this whipping system, you can only hit one accent, and all those rudiments I did were one accent at a time. That doesn't cover every situation you need to be ready to do. It only covers a major portion of what you need to do, but seriously not. It doesn't give you a full palette of tools. I'll show you why. Because when you play a double paradiddle, you could play it two ways. You could play it with a single accent, right? Or you could play with two accents. That's not a whip. That second accent is not a whip. That second accent was achieved through Stone's leveling system. Same thing with the triple. It's even more pronounced. You can't do that. You know, like Joe said in his DVD, eventually you'll just take off. You're going to fly. Can't do it. Can't do it that way. And that happens right in the first line of accents and rebounds. You got two in a row on the right hand. Boom, boom. All the others can be whipped, but this one is more than a whip, right? Okay, and that's all wrist. I'm not even, I had my wrist muscles are attached to my arm muscles. I have to use my arms no matter what I do with my wrists, but I'm not using any momentum for my arms. I'm using just a wrist motion. Not bad, pretty clean, nice and loud. Okay, but I couldn't do that with my arms alone. I have to use a combination of stroking that doesn't exist in a whip world. So the whip takes care of the single accent. It's really great, like I said. You can't do that with a whip. And with paradiddles. So let me show you a paradiddle thing that I like to do. Every time I do an accent routine. At the end of the accent routine, I go through a routine from the Wilcoxon book. I'm going to show it to you. Do I have it? I have it somewhere. I got to go dig for it, but I so disorganized. Yeah, here it is. Good. I can show it to you. I don't have an electronic copy of this. I'm sorry, so I can't put it up on the screen. But okay, here we go. This book has an exercise in it, a paradiddle exercise that addresses all of the problems. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them in just a couple of. Let me show it to you. And it's a really good book. Let me show you. His basic instruction to you. It's one of my favorite images. All right, and all he's doing is he starts out by just giving you the 26 rudiments. He breaks it down into two types of rudiments. One is the rolling rudiment. He puts all the rolls down, and then he puts in, and then closed stroke rolls. And then he gets into the regular single paradiddle and flam paradiddles and all the other. So when I was introduced to paradiddles, this was my introduction to paradiddles, to the single paradiddle. Not even a double. I mean, we're not even talking about doubles here. We're talking about singles. And he put a series of exercises on in a single paradiddle form. That was not just like doing a, let me show this to you. All right. So the first one is a regular accent. It's a regular. And the second one is this one. So you're going through these. So this could all be whipped. Okay. But then he gets into two in a row. Okay? And then he gets to a second kind of two in a row. And then he gets into the third kind of two in a row. And then he goes into a triplet. The last time. Alright? I'm going to play this for you moderately slow, so you can see what I'm talking about. These double hits have to be done with something besides a whip. Okay? Yeah. I'll speed it up a little bit. Alright, so there's more than molar in there, okay? So, accents and rebounds should be approached. It should not be approached from a whip or molar or arm stroking point of view at first. Should not be, because you're going to hit a wall. You're not going to be able to do it. You'll be able to do it at 40. But you're not going to be able to do it Okay? So you need to learn how to use your wrists. You have to learn how to make the moves. Because he wrote the book. So you should learn the book the way he wrote it, what he meant to do with it. Now, you can add, after you understand the method and you can do the exercises, and you can break it down to a slow tempo, and you can isolate what the moves are and learn them as necessary. Then you could start thinking about adding arms to what you're doing, because it'll strengthen what you're doing, but it's not going, but you're not going to lose what you've already developed with your wrist. The accents will still be there that you can't use the whip for. And then there's another arm accent that we get into to handle, the free stroke accent, as I like to call it, which can happen multiple times. I mean, we're talking about 2 in a row, but you could have 3 in a row. Triple paradiddle has 3 in a row. You can have 4 in a row. So there's a lot of phrases, accent phrases, that become available to you if you learn how to accent in a way that can be approached and used with any problem that comes up. And if you have other tools that sweeten the pot, great. But you don't have a full recipe. You don't have the soup. Is not really good unless you got all the ingredients, and the whipping is not the only ingredient. So that's why I teach it from Stone's method. I teach wrist first, and I teach full strokes and half strokes and control strokes. And when a student has a certain facility using their wrists and they understand, how to execute, then I start introducing, the arm, system, which is more than one stroke. I mean, it's not, whip is just one arm stroke. Joe had 3. I never could figure out how to do the third one, but I think I'm doing it. I'm just not sure. I can't go ask him anymore. Anyway, so that's now that you understand that, I'm running out of time. I want to keep this under an hour. Now that you understand that, now we can look at the rest of the page. And this is another lesson now. The first lesson is to learn to use your wrists, which I showed you. The second lesson would be to learn to use your arms as well, with your wrists. And that would take another hour or more for me to explain the different arm moves I'm using and to demonstrate the strategies as they are applied to these particular problems that are being presented. I could do the page for you, so get an idea of hey Matt, whip and pump. I guess you could call it that. You know what? Matt Patella knows what I'm talking about. He studied with Joe. So Matt is suggesting to use the terminology whip and pump, which is not bad. sort of think of it that way, yeah. So anyway, let me do the page the way I do it, so you can see all of the moves I'm using and how I'm getting through it. I guess I should use a metronome then. And when I revisit accents and rebounds, which I will do, there's 3 more pages of this stuff, and then 4 more pages of this in shuffle, and then another 4 pages in triplet, and there's a lot of material. But I can't go through every page, but I could go through the next lesson with this page, and maybe another page, a second page or a third, whatever. But I would like to reserve dealing with arm strokes, whip and pump, whatever you want to call it. Molar forearm, whip forearm, molar pump, molar double pump. I mean, so we'll do this at 144, which is my. To me, it's a moderate tempo. It might be a more than a moderate to some people, depending on your study level. And I'll do it. I'll do it 4 times each, and I'll do it 3 times, and then the last time I'll do the final ending. So it'll be 4 times on each line. Okay. Well, that's it. That's what it looks like. With using everything, using forearms, using whips, using wrists, using controls, using freeze. It requires all of that just to do the first page. You have to have all of that to get, if you want to do it fully. So like I said, the way to do this is to approach it from a wrist view. Learn how to do this material just using your wrist, using George Stone's stroking strategies of preparation, strategy of getting ready for the next stroke on each hand from the previous stroke played, and learning it at a very slow tempo, because you have to learn the material, you have to learn the sticking, you have to learn the methodology of the technique, and then by the time you get to a reasonable tempo, you're going to be pretty good at this, because you're not going to be able to learn it at 144. You're going to have to go to 40 to learn this and work your way up to 144. You're going to reach a point where the accelerated tempo is going to cause problems for your linear wrist speed, and you're going to want to assist it. At that point, then you'll be ready to consider using whip strokes and forearm strokes and all that. But you have to have put some time in to learn and develop those strokes too, so they can be applied. All of these strokes are used with other material before you get to this kind of stuff. The accents, you go through all kinds of rudiments with your accent stuff first before you try reading phrased material. Anyway, so that's the book. I love it. I've been doing it. I've owned a copy of this book from the time I was maybe 17. I saw Joe play when I was 16. It blew my mind, and I saw his picture in this book, and boom. I bought the book. I wanted to do it, and so that's 40 years ago. So I've been with this, and I've done it many ways. I did it incorrectly. I did it semi-correctly. I did it very, very slowly. I did it medium. I did it wrists. I did it with added arms. Now I do it with arms and fingers added to the wrist. I've done this material my whole life at different tempos with different technical strategies, and So what I'm showing you today is how you begin to approach it, so that you can assimilate the material in a way that George meant, and can be used as a foundation to apply other tools and add it to that box of tools that you have. It starts with basic strokes and wrist movement. Okay, good. I kept this shorter than I thought I could. I could do another 3 pages for you, but I think you get the idea. It gets more interesting from here. Let me show you another page, just because I'm a little ahead on time. Let me just show you. Is this the next page, and you'll see the pattern is the same. 12 lines. We're up to 24 here at this point, and they go through the same stickings. There's right hand, left hand singles, right hand, left hand doubles, right hand, left hand parallels, right hand, left hand third inversion, right hand, left hand 4 in each hand, right hand, left hand vamp. And the only difference is he gets into this bassa clomping, which gets very interesting. And that gets pretty, gets pretty hairy when you start doing the doubles and the it gets pretty hairy. So anyway, and then the next pattern is a little more complicated and has even more difficult problems. He starts adding multiple single accents together instead of just on one hand. They're actually with very little space in between them. He takes away the intervening notes. So the accents get more complicated and more difficult to perform as you go on. So the first page is just the first page. And the book is full of it's full of press roll work and inverted accent work that helps your double strokes, rolling in mixed rhythms, rolling in 5s and 7s, and I'm not talking about linear rolling in rhythm. I'm talking about polyrhythmic rolling. Playing a group of 5. I won't go into it. It's an amazing book. The first page is just the beginning of where it can go. It's a great stepping stone to Joe's Master Study series, which takes this book and just takes the concept of stick control on accents and just takes it to another level in Master Studies 1, and then he did Master Studies 2, which goes even further. And it's just unbelievable. This material is incredible. But it starts with stick control, and it's followed by accents and rebounds, and then the world follows that for me. So that's my hit on accents and rebounds. I hope it's helpful. I want to thank you for tuning in and watching this book series, and especially today, the accents and rebounds portion. I want to suggest that you join the Sue Network, www.tsu.co/network, social media. After Hours, the streaming channel that's presenting this to you, is their short code is online streaming, so that brings you to their network, and this is an invitation to their network, and you can join their network on Sue. You can join my network on Sue by putting my short code in there instead of the online streaming. You can use Zetzer, Z-E-T-Z-E-R. I'll do it slow. Z-E-T-Z-E-R. And that'll put you in my network on Sue. All right, and on Sue we have this group called Auto Drumming. That's a Sue group, and that's the sponsor of these programs. The presenter is After Hours Streaming, and the sponsor is the Auto Drumming from Sue. And I'm from Sue, and we're all from Sue, and we all invite you to come to Sue and join us too. Wow, I'm going to stop on that. Thank you all for coming. And I'm going to sign off with my usual, keep practicing, man. You got to keep practicing. That's the only